Hello, today I am here with my very good longtime friend,
Lindsay.
and today we're going to be doing an interview, and I'm going to be asking her questions about my transition and a bunch of stuff like that. So I asked on Tumblr for a few questions from you guys, so we're going to start with those, and then we're going to do the ones that I have written down. Okay. So, first question is from The Kite Gets Away.
I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. Asked, what was the most helpful conversation or resource that you found when learning about my transition? So, where did you go, basically, to, learn about stuff? And, yeah.
Well, I first heard about transgendered people quite a while ago because my dad actually watched a documentary on Discovery Channel about people, and I remember him telling me about it and how it's a real thing, how people can be born into the wrong body, and I was I understand that, I can feel that. And also I took a psychology class, and one of the sections we did was on transgendered people, and that also broadened my horizons on the subject. And of course, just Googling things, of course, is the best too, and asking a live human being about it.
Well, that is closely connected with this next question. Yes. What questions did you have when we first spoke that you were too afraid to ask? So when I first came out to you, what did you want to ask me, and what were some things that you were a little iffy about?
How long have you felt this way?
Okay.
Because I remember having a conversation a long time ago when we were really young, if you felt like being a tomboy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just wondering if you always felt that way or not. Yeah.
What was the hardest thing to adapt to?
All of your girlfriends! And how you became popular all of a sudden. We went from social, in high school to
It's not true.
It's just very true.
When did you start referring to me by my preferred pronouns, and when did your personal friends start? When did you tell your friends about this? How did you tell your friends, your family, and mutual friends? How did you adapt other people around you to this?
How did I adapt other people?
I'm gonna rephrase that. So basically, how did you tell other people that I couldn't tell? So your family, your friends.
Okay. Well, people were obviously questioning because he cut his hair and was oh, is he a lesbian kind of thing? Cutting his hair. I'm just being honest. And then I was like, no, he feels like he's a guy. He's changing his name. His name is now Benton. He'd prefer to be called a guy. And a lot of people were kind of oh, at first, oh, it's been going on for a while because he did have a girlfriend. So that was kind of the first thing. It was oh, he's not straight, I guess. Mm-hmm. So then people were kind of oh, I guess he's a guy. And then it took a long time for people to actually start saying he, though. They would be they'd say Benton, they stopped saying Helena, but when referring to you, they would say she. And I could feel it inside, it would be it's he, even though I would do it myself sometimes.
Yeah. Tumblr user, it's Jord the Fierce asked, was it difficult for you to switch pronouns and names, and what made it easier for you?
It was difficult, obviously, just thinking about calling someone by a different name. And then always, when people would talk about it, it became easier over time because we kept saying, oh, Benton is now doing this, or Benton's doing better, and then you'd kind of, teach yourself to say he instead of she, because you know that if you did say she, it, is kind of offensive in a way. Because we know that some people were saying she to be offensive on purpose. Yeah, so I guess it's just time. It takes time, and then, trying to correct yourself after you make the mistake. If you say she, oh, I mean he... and then apologizing.
From when we first met, did you suspect something was a little different than other girls our age at the time?
Other girls our age?
Other girls.
Well, I was a huge tomboy when I was younger.
As you cross your legs.
As I crossed my legs very daintily. I've grown out of that stage a little bit, but, we were playing hockey, and that's kind of a more
masculine,
boyish, sport.
Stereotypical masculine sport.
Yeah, so then, and he was the best player on the team, so instantly I wanted to become friends. And then when we became friends, I noticed that we were into the same things that not a lot of girls our age were. We were definitely more into sports and I don't know, other more boyish things. Like we dressed definitely more boyish. We didn't try to do girly things. And so then I really liked that because I didn't have a lot of other friends that were more tomboyish, and then we became like best friends because we liked boy toys and the color blue more than the color pink.
Boy toys. Do you remember when I first came out to you, and what was your reaction / what were you thinking?
I do not remember when you first came out to me because I do remember you sending out a
Facebook
message to everyone, and I didn't get the message. And everyone was talking about it.
I just thought you knew.
Everyone was talking about it like, oh yeah, Ben just sent this message. I'm like, what the hell? How come I didn't get the message? And it was because I thought you knew. I'm like, well, I didn't know. Because I guess you told me. You're like, was it a text or in person? It was probably a text saying like,
I'm pretty sure like we talked about it like casually though.
Yeah, it was very casual. Like,
yeah, I never sat you down and I was like,
listen, honey.
This is what's happening now.
I was just kind of like, oh, all right.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's your name gonna be?
Yeah, she helped me pick my name.
I did?
Yeah, I think you did. You were during the process.
You kept showing me the list.
There's a list.
There's a big list.
A week before I cut my hair and started physically transitioning, we went on a trip with another friend of ours. And she had no idea what was happening. Oh, you knew it was happening, and the trip was pretty hard for me because you guys like were going out to the campfire and you were like talking to boys and stuff, and they were really muscular and they had their shirts off and they were at the beach and stuff, and I was just kind of like eh, and I just assumed that our friend that was with us was like eh, why was she being so like eh, and so I told her one night that I was trans.
No, you said you were a boy. You typed out a little text notepad and said...
In our bunk beds, like, I passed it down.
It was like kind of explaining some things, and it was like, I'm a boy, and then it was like Benton. And at this time we were still calling him Helena around everyone else. And then she immediately thought that he was a boy. Like, he was a boy, like, dressing as a girl this whole time. And she went, like, silent, and she was just like... Do you strap it to your leg or something? Is it just really small? Like, oh my gosh. That was probably one of the best moments of my life.
What's another, has my transition affected our friendship?
Yes, because now whenever we go out, you get noticed more than I do. Just kidding, no one notices me. Oh. We can't go in the same bathroom together anymore. If I'm feeling a little, I'm like, oh, I need to go to the washroom. Can you come in with me? No.
Nope.
No. You can't. Did that once.
Didn't go too well. Oh my god. On the ferry. She went in to check to make sure no one was in there. And then I walked in and then someone came in as we were leaving.
And they were like,
there's a boy in the bathroom. And then you're like, no, it's okay. And I
ran out of there.
That was the last public bathroom I ever went in.
Can we just talk about how many anonymous messages Benton gets on his blog for a second?
Well, I'm assuming that people that are coming out to their friends are afraid of being rejected, and their friends just being like...
Judging H-core.
Like that. Or not believing in...
Oh, it's just a phase.
What are your thoughts on that? With like people that do that?
I think they aren't educated on the subject, and they don't understand the psychology behind it and how it is a real thing about how people can feel that way.
That's her thing. She goes around and she's like, it's a real thing. It actually happens to people.
It actually happens to people. Well, just like how people that don't understand depression is a real thing. Mm-hmm. It's like it goes on in your mind. It's just because people can't physically see that there is a change like hurting you or affecting you. They don't believe it's real, and that's sad for them.
Yeah. So if you are an ally...
An ally?
Okay, we'll try that again.
If you are... Screw you, Paris!
So if you
would like to join the gender trifecta...
So if you are a friend of someone who is... whatever they are...
this point because at this time anything goes.
Anything can happen. No, but if you are a friend of someone who is part of the LGBTQ... So, if you are a friend of someone who is part of the LGBTQ, XWYZ, whatever they are, just be a good support system, I think, and ask a lot of questions and stuff like that, and really kind of educate yourself, because that is your job. They're not going to come to you and tell you everything. I didn't do that.
Unless they say, too much information, I don't want to know the size of your dick. Or, oh, I really didn't want to see those pictures of your naked body. But honey, they could be really popular on the internet.
So, just be a good friend and stuff, and, like, we're not serious about it. We joke. We're probably the most offensive people.
And that actually helps a lot. Joking around with things and making subjects lighter is a lot easier to talk about it than being, like, serious. This is who I am now.
This is serious. Plot twist, I'm a boy! So, be a good friend, be a good ally, and ask questions.
Does that mean that there are enemies? You have allies and enemies in the...
What were we talking about? Right, okay. Thanks for watching. So, we might make a part 2 of this sometime in the future, so if you have any more questions that you'd like to ask, or if you are a friend of someone who's trans, you know, ask your questions that you don't maybe want to ask them, and we can answer them for you. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and bye.